Donald Trump's top 10 lies about his economy. 1. I created unprecedented economic growth. Trump assured the public in 2017 that thanks to his tax cuts, the U.S. economy would grow at 3%. But he added, I think it could go to 4, 5, and maybe even 6% ultimately. Even if you exclude the 2020 pandemic, economic growth averaged 2.67% under Trump. And if you include the pandemic-induced recession, that average drops to an anemic 1.45%. Economic growth increased by 8% in Biden's first year in office. Number 2, under me, American energy output was at its greatest. At a recent rally in Michigan, Donald Trump said, I will declare a national emergency to allow us to dramatically increase oil production, generation, and supply, which Comrade Kamala has destroyed. First, the vice president has absolutely no control over domestic energy production. Second, America is currently producing 1 million barrels of oil a day more than the peak levels when Trump was president. And for the first time in history, renewable sources of energy are outpacing coal and nuclear. 3, I lowered the deficit. Trump said at the debate with Harris, the country was growing like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. This was, of course, a lie. Trump added more debt than any president in history. Donald promised that his tax cuts in 2017 would pay for themselves. They did not. The tax cuts increased borrowing by $216 billion in 2018. In 2019, the deficit rose to $984 billion, nearly $300 billion more than what the CBO had forecast. Biden's yearly deficits were never as big as Trump's, even though Biden, unlike Trump, managed to pass enormous legislative initiatives to stimulate the economy, like the infrastructure bill. 4, you had more money when I was president because I knew what I was doing. When the pandemic hit, Donald had the Treasury send Americans checks with his name on them. This cash bonanza caused average Americans to feel that they were better off, even though the country was in a recession. But this spending drove the deficit up over $3 trillion. Trump's economy was nothing more than a sugar high that Joe Biden had to fix, and he did. 5, I lowered inflation. Inflation was running at about 1% during Obama's second term. So when Trump took office, it was low. He doubled it in his first year. The only thing that drove down inflation while Trump was president was the pandemic, which cratered the economy, not any administration policies. 6, I had the lowest gas prices. Donald likes to brag about the price of gas when he was president, but the only reason it was low is not because of any policies he promoted, but because nobody was driving. And why was that? Because Donald handled the COVID pandemic so incompetently that people had to avoid work, schools, and restaurants. 7, I added more jobs than any president. The United States lost 2.7 million jobs during Trump's presidency. If the pandemic months are excluded, he added 6.7 million jobs. Now, that might sound good, but Biden added 15.4 million jobs so far, over twice the number of jobs Trump added if we exclude the pandemic. And we really shouldn't exclude the pandemic because Trump made it far worse with his lying and ineptitude. And Donald famously promised to bring back manufacturing jobs to the U.S., but under Trump, the U.S. lost 178,000 manufacturing jobs. So far, the U.S. economy has added 773,000 manufacturing jobs during Biden's presidency. Fun fact, every Republican president in the past 50 years has had better job growth than Trump, and by even higher numbers. So has every Democratic president, including Jimmy Carter. Number 8, I didn't allow immigrants to take your jobs. Donald likes to claim that when he was president, America had the most secure border in history. That's not true. Even for recent history, during Obama's final month in office, monthly encounters at the U.S.-Mexico border were 31,578. During Trump's final month in office, this number more than doubled to 78,414. In July, Biden's number was 56,408, a 30% drop. 9. The stock market was at record levels when I was president. Bitch, please! In all but 13 days of the Biden presidency, the stock market has been higher than the highest point in Donald's presidency. And 10. You were better off under Trump. Real disposable income per capita is currently up over 5% than when Trump was president. And that number is before the pandemic. If you factor in the pandemic, Trump's numbers are abysmal. Donald likes to ask, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? The answer shouldn't be yes. It should be hell yes. 4 years ago, thousands of Americans were dying every day. And there was no toilet paper.